Have you ever wondered why certain people instantly know they can walk all over you, while they treat others with absolute respect? What if your own micro-movements are quietly broadcasting invisible permission to exploit you within the exact first zero point 0.1 seconds of meeting them? We all have that one toxic coworker or acquaintance who always seems to target our personal space and completely ignore our clearly defined limits. You might think they are just naturally aggressive, but the terrifying truth is that their ancient brain specifically chose you as their safest target. To stop being the constant victim of everyday manipulation, we must completely decode the silent physical signals your body is accidentally leaking out. Every single time you walk into a room, an invisible and highly primal social hierarchy is instantly established without a single spoken word. Long before you even say hello, the primitive brainstem of the person across from you is aggressively and systematically scanning your physical presence. Their active mirror neurons are immediately processing your eye movements, your rigid posture, and your immediate reaction times to determine your baseline confidence. They do not evaluate you by your polite vocabulary or your impressive resume, but by the micro-flinches you make when unexpected pressure is applied. If you constantly avert your gaze or rapidly shrink your shoulders, their primitive brain instantly categorizes you as yielding and completely safe to exploit. This rapid 0.1 second scan is an entirely automated survival mechanism, allowing dominant personalities to subconsciously detect exactly who will tolerate their boundary violations. It is an incredibly cold and calculating biological equation that plays out identically in every single office meeting, family gathering, and casual social interaction. Now let us closely examine the devastating vulnerability switch that you might be flipping the exact moment someone makes a completely unreasonable demand. When someone asks for a massive favor, chronic people-pleasers feel an intense surge of anxiety and immediately rush to fill the uncomfortable dead silence. You react with lightning speed to fully accommodate them, secretly hoping your rapid compliance will be deeply appreciated and ultimately viewed as a kind gesture. But the human brain is extremely harsh, and it processes your fast, nervous accommodation not as kindness, but as a bright green light for manipulation. By answering them instantly, you are subconsciously signaling that your own time and personal energy hold absolutely no value compared to their sudden demands. This immediate yielding completely strips away your invisible defensive armor, granting them a permanent free pass to continuously step over your most critical boundaries. You are eventually left experiencing agonizing psychological burnout, realizing you have been deeply manipulated long after the one-sided conversation has already ended. They are not consciously plotting against you. Their primal hardware is simply responding efficiently to the total lack of resistance you just freely provided. If you constantly leave the gates wide open, the predator's primitive brain will naturally walk right in and completely claim your sacred territory as theirs. We are about to expose the brutal evolutionary reality behind this resource grab, and exactly how you can permanently hack this automatic system. If you are truly tired of people aggressively stepping into your territory and treating you like a highly convenient doormat, you must pay attention. Hit that subscribe button right now and let us fundamentally rebuild your psychological armor so you never get casually exploited by toxic personalities again. It is time to rewrite the silent rules of engagement and finally take back the control that your subconscious mind has been freely giving away. To understand why certain people endlessly push your limits, we must look directly at the brutal and undeniable wiring of evolutionary psychology. The human brain is a highly efficient survival machine, specifically designed to relentlessly acquire external resources like precious time, energy, and social status. And exactly like water violently flowing down a steep mountain, the primitive brain will always actively seek the absolute path of least possible resistance. If someone aggressively tests your boundary and your defensive line immediately collapses, their subconscious instantly registers a highly successful and effortless resource grab. This instantly triggers a massive dopamine hit inside their neural circuitry, aggressively encouraging their brain to return and take even more from you. Leading behavioral scientists refer to this persistent and highly toxic overstepping not as a calculated malicious attack, but simply as a primitive animalistic bug. They are rarely consciously plotting your painful downfall in secret. They are merely operating on a completely automated and highly predictable human software loop. In the wild, biological creatures will continuously push forward and aggressively expand their dominant territory until they literally collide with a solid physical wall. If they quickly look around and realize that there is absolutely no rigid wall stopping them, they will naturally just keep walking aggressively forward. This is exactly why that one toxic colleague will always happily dump 5 extra complex assignments on your desk right before the weekend starts. They intuitively sense the total and complete absence of your psychological wall, knowing deeply that you will shoulder the heavy burden without serious pushback. But you can instantly patch this massive, bleeding vulnerability in your behavioral software by deploying 2 highly unnatural but incredibly effective physiological hacks. The first practical weapon to permanently rebuild your stolen psychological territory is a radical technique known in behavioral therapy as the peripheral shield. When you are cornered in a high-pressure conversation, your primal anxiety desperately commands your eyes to rapidly dart around, looking for a quick escape. Instead of helplessly shrinking down, you must deliberately lock your visual focus on the empty physical space sitting directly behind and around their head. Activating your wide peripheral vision immediately lowers the suffocating tension inside your prefrontal cortex, essentially tricking your own nervous system into total physiological relaxation. This simple biological trick completely stabilizes your posture, projecting a massive, immovable presence that their primitive predator brain instantly registers as extreme social dominance. The second powerful psychological weapon is an aggressive verbal defense mechanism, commonly utilized by elite master negotiators, known as the delayed echo. The exact microsecond someone makes a highly disrespectful remark or boldly attempts to casually step over your established boundary completely frees your emotional reaction. Do not nervously laugh it off or quickly apologize. Instead, confidently create a highly uncomfortable and powerful 3-second vacuum of absolute dead psychological silence. Maintain your strong peripheral shield gaze, and then incredibly calmly and slowly repeat their exact, ridiculous, demanding words right back to their own face, saying, "So, you want me to completely finish your overdue project by tonight?" Violently forces their own brain to actually process their sheer audacity. Hearing their own highly toxic demand echoed back in an emotionally flat and empty tone causes their subconscious to immediately recognize the crossed line. Their primitive mental software instantly experiences a critical system error, forcing them to quickly backpedal and immediately retreat away from your newly glowing boundary. Stop quietly leaking invisible permission to the world. Systematically deploy the shield and the echo today, and strictly force them to respect your unshakable limits.